So one thing I did want to do is kind of show you my new organization system because I realized at the end of 2020 that I had painted hundreds and hundreds of miniatures, but I didn't really keep track of them, and I don't want to go back and figure out how many it was exactly, but I was really curious to know what I actually had gotten done. So this year, one of my goals is to be really um, conscious about collecting the data on what I paint. So, yeah, you can see we're kind of at the end of February. Just the reality of my situation is, I'm recording this on like the 25th or something, the 26th. I'm not really going to get anything done for the rest of the month, to be honest, even though we have a couple days left. I'm working currently, like it feels like every single day, Monday through Sunday, for at least 14 hours a day, which, it's not conductive to painting because I got other stuff in my life too, other than work. And painting right now is the lowest priority of things to do. January, you can see I actually was productive in January, and all this stuff is in videos. So with this system, I'm recording the month, the era, a description of what it actually is, and then whether it was cavalry or infantry, and then of course the number of models. So I have a raw score for the number of models. I also have a modified score, and the raw number is a simple, you know, uh, one model is one number in here. So cavalry is counted as one. So six cavalry, that's, rider and horse is one. The modified number is doubling cavalry. So six cavalry figures, is counted as 12 because it's a horse and a rider. So I wanted to keep track of both of that. So for January, um, and there is a channel on YouTube that you may or may not watch. It's called Holy Diver. And, I watch that channel sometimes. And one thing he said on there was you should try, it's a goal to try and paint 100 figures a month. So I always kind of have that in the back of my mind. I think that is, that's hard to do for sure. This month, the raw score for January, we're at 86 figures. Modified score, so that's doubling the cavalry, we're at 93. So if I had painted like, four more cavalry figures, we would have been there, or three more cavalry and a couple infantry or whatever. So about three cavalry and one infantry more, we would have been at 100. But this was hard enough to do with what I had, life situation. February, you know, this has been a busy, busy month. I'm actually surprised I got 66 miniatures done. Well, I got 33 miniatures done, but they were all cavalry. And, what still actually has to be done is some basing and banners. Maybe that will get done technically, but I'm gonna count these figures for February, even though they aren't totally completed. Um, you know, the actual figures are painted. The base painting and the banners, that's not really a huge time investment to get those done. It's just when I can find the time. Also in January, in addition to the 86 or 93 figures, however you want to count them, I also actually did get a bunch of terrain done. And I did also manage to play some games online. And I actually have played a few more than this as well. But, I was kind of keeping basic track of those. I had some fun with these games. And these were actually, Blood and Valor. Played that. It's in a video I did. I just played that against my girlfriend in the apartment. The two of the strongest games were all played on Tabletop Simulator against people in the UK, except for Monty. Monty's in the US actually, but these were all tabletop simulator games. And if you're still listening to this part of the video, you know, I'm impressed that you stuck with it. But if you ever want to play on Tabletop Simulator, I'm always down to play, just not in the next couple months. I'll put it that way. If you want to play this over the summer, I would love to. Just let me know, drop me a line. I'm on Discord. I'm in some of the Discord groups too. And I'm always kind of happy to set that kind of thing up. But not until May. February, I shouldn't have even played some of these games because of taking the time away from other things. And then March, it's just not going to happen. April, I think I might get one more game in because there's someone I really want to play, but that's about it. So I also wanted to keep track of all my current projects. This does not include, what this does not include is projects that are done and dusted. So my Macedonians successors, I'm kind of not, that army is done at least for the next couple years. I probably am going to revisit the successors in, sometime in the 2020s, but it's not going to be for another few years because I have spent, most of my painting career just painting successors. I have like hundreds of them, time to do something else for a bit. So my kind of, if you're seeing this, this is a lot of in progress projects. And my kind of logic with this is, I am 28 years old. And I got into this hobby when I was like 20. So I got back into this hobby, I should say, when I was 26. So I've been doing this for 2 years. And the way I see it is I have my whole life to do this hobby. And what that means to me is that I don't have to finish an army in a year, one army in a year. My thinking is that I can start out a bunch of different projects and grow them successively over the years. So I think, that's a philosophical question. But, my thinking behind that is, where I live currently, my current situation, if I want to play in 28 mil when I want against certain people, I have to provide both armies. If I want to play World War II in 28 mil, literally no one in my area does that. No one does Chain of Command, which I want to play. So I'm going to have to build those armies. That's just kind of the reality. So my goal is as soon as possible, I want to get 2 World War II platoons set up. And that's something that can be expanded later. Ranger Miniature War Games, one of the kind of my favorite YouTube channels on here. He's talked a bit about his large scale 28 mil World War II stuff. I think that's cool, and I think that's something to aspire to. In my mind, that doesn't have to be achieved in 1 year. That can be built up over the course of years. But my goal is really, I want to play different games. I'm going to have to build different forces. I am interested in so much history. I want to do a lot of different things. And if it's going to happen, I have to paint both sides. That's the reality. So I'm going to do a small U.S. force, which it's not like I'm not interested in the U.S. Army in World War II because I am, but it's not my like favorite army. But that's what we're kind of going to do as our first World War II Allied army. And then the Germans, I'm going to do a Panzer Grenadier platoon, which, it's kind of being like a World War II basic bitch. And, I do, again, it's like I do find the late war interesting. Excuse me. I honestly find the earlier war more interesting. It's more interesting to me personally, but I think it's more interesting to the people who I want to play with, the late war. So, I'm building that, 1944 whatever forces, even though that's not the most interesting part of World War II to me. So the goal is by the end of May to get that set up, World War II. My goals, I had, so of course, being me, did not go through these in order, but that's the project I'm kind of most interested in right now, getting the World War II set up. Rebasing the Gauls, I'm going to try and do this over March, and this is because I wanted to build this army for some kind of display games. I needed to build the army fast, and this was during 2020. I needed to build it with minimal figures, so I used mass bases to maximize units. Now I want to go back and rebase them to get a denser pack and to make them more flexible. And by denser pack, I mean, tighten up the ranks. Because I had like 16 guys per warband. Then those numbers need to bulk up because, you know, that's what I want. I do have this kind of category still to buy. This stuff is not getting bought this year. In reality, the Gauls, we're rebasing them, but that army is going on the back burner. The Normans, I finished all the cavalry. This is an army I want to finish by the end of 2021. This is my big army project for the year, is the Normans, a full Norman army. Okay, Syrian city-states. This is, the Normans can be used as crusaders. I find the Islamic armies really interesting, and as an opponent, I think they're the most interesting opponent of the Normans because of the tactical, flexibility there with the Turkic inspired Syrian armies or, the Ayyubid armies, but those are kind of later period than my Normans are. But the goal is to, whether this happens or not, it's going to be because of cost, whether I feel like spending the money on this year. But I want to get a lion rampant force for this year as the seed of the army. And that will just require around 18 cavalry and then gripping beast plastic infantry. The cavalry, I think I'm mainly going to use footsore cavalry for them. French and Indian War, I kind of bought into this. Again, another small force. And this is going to be for sharp practice. Again, I kind of, I want to play different games. Lion Rampant, Chain of Command, sharp practice. I was going back and forth on Napoleonics or French and Indian War. I ended up settling for French and Indian War this year. Napoleonics is out for me this year, and probably next year too, if I have any sense. What I really need is a shock collar, and when I get the idea to buy a Napoleonic anything, I need to shock myself because it's just not realistic to add another project to the list until a lot of these get knocked out. Viking/Anglo-Danes. So my first War Games figures I ever got were historicals anyways, were War Games Foundry Vikings. Over the past year, I stripped those figures. I painted them when I was like 12 years old. They look terrible. So I stripped them and I bought Victrix Vikings. I've assembled them, and actually I'm going to change this right now. Half primed. I have some additional figures to assemble and prime, but I did prime a bunch. And this army is totally bought. I've bought all the figures, and I'm going to need to get a big army for Sword Point. So that I want to paint that as much as possible this year. Whether it gets done this year, we'll see. Earlier Imperial Romans, I got a bunch of boxes for Christmas, which I have pretty much all painted, but it's still a very small army. Whether this happened, this is kind of being pushed to next year, similar to the Gauls or Britons or whatever. I guess what I really did was Britons, not Gauls, the way the army is, with the chariots. Although, the Gauls had chariots in the early period. But the EER, and again, the EER, I really, that's a, personal pet peeve of mine when you see like ER armies fighting kind of like those Caesarian conflicts. I mean, yeah, I guess they did fight some Gauls, but that's not really the main enemy of the EER, the early Imperial Romans. I need those Victrix archers. They've been teasing. The Eastern archers is what I really want. And then I need more variety in the armor for this army. They're all in the Lorica Segmentata. Need to get Aventine figures. I want to buy about 40 more Aventines, mainly in mail and scale armors to fill in with this, because that needs to be. They weren't all in the Lorica Segmentata. We need those mail and scale figures to finish this army. But again, I think that's going to be a project for next year. The Hoplite Greek. This is a shame on me project. So back in, I guess it was 2018, I've changed careers. Back then I was working in forestry. My degree is actually in forest engineering. I bought Victrix, the Greek hoplites. That's what got me back into this hobby. I saw those and they were a good price, and I thought that might be a fun hobby. A little did I know it would lead to this chaos. But those were very badly painted, my first figures getting back into the hobby. So they don't need to be stripped, but they need to be touched up. They need to be washed and some highlighting done for me to feel happy with them. I also have a large number of unpainted War Games Foundry Greeks to mix with the Victrix. And the reason why that happened is I hurt my wrist really badly and could not paint for over 6 months with my right hand. I could not use my right hand for 6 months due to nerve damage on the wrist. So, which really sucked. Yeah, nerve injuries, you want to avoid those if you can. Word from the wise, it kind of really had a negative effect on my life. But anyways, the Hoplite Greek project was kind of dropped after that, but mainly because of an appropriate enemy at the time. There were no plastic Persians when I bought these. And look, I'm not going to buy two Hoplite Greek armies to fight each other. That's just kind of insane. That's, for me, anyways, it's like, yeah, insane. So I got into Macedonians, and then I thought, the Macedonians were kind of more interesting to me anyways. And then they're too similar, I thought, to have fun games at the time. Trying to get people to play, just the phalanx smashing into each other. So I dropped this project, but I do want to resuscitate it. But that is a next year project. Germanic types, I want to do late Romans. I want to do ancient Germans. I have a box of the Victrix figures. I have, the Victrix late, Dark Age Saxon, Anglo-Dane, late Dark Age Saxons. I hate the term Dark Ages, but I used it. I have the early Germans. I want to make a generic Germanic army at some point that can kind of fill in, in the earlier period, they're mainly using those kind of more rectangular-ish shields, hexagonal shields. They still actually did use those to a certain degree into, through the late Roman period. 400 through 600. Those still show up, but mainly around, sometime around 3 to 400 AD. They've switched from the kind of not kite shields, hexagonal shields, um, oval shields to more round shields with these kind of elaborate shield bosses. So the shields kind of present a problem. Otherwise, I mean, really, an ancient German's an ancient German, if you ask me. I guess the hairstyles change, but you know, I want to make that army as versatile as possible. Baron's War. I bought the damn figures. They're awesome. When I'm gonna get to them, I don't know. Etruscans. I bought into the Etruscan Kickstarter. Again, I probably really shouldn't have done that because I didn't really have a plan for that army. So that's something I need to think about. What army are these going to be a part of? Are we going to integrate them with the Greeks maybe? I'm not sure. So, oh, sheet two, I wanted to build my sharp practice stuff. So I kind of, just kind of want to make my own thing, not use the preset lists. I got to add the leaders into this because, they're pretty important. But this is kind of a force based upon figures that I liked, and you know you can tell how stressed I am by how many Kickstarters and fucking miniatures I've been buying lately. I really should do a loot haul, another one. A ridiculous, I've been doing too many. But yeah, this is kind of what I've been thinking, and this is based on a force operating around Fort Carillon for that campaign. A lot of provincials and a lot of rangers and a lot of Canadian militia and Indians too. So I'm gonna give it a break, give it a rest. You're probably sick of hearing me yak on about this shit. So I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you guys sometime. And yeah, take care. Bye.